Greetings everyone and welcome to another animated look back. Like most kids who grew up in the 90s, every Saturday morning I was awake as early as I could possibly wake up to watch the Saturday morning cartoons. There was a lot of shows that I looked forward to. Inspector Gadget, Tintin, all the Looney Tunes shows, but the one I loved more than any other was Batman the Animated Series. This was a trailblazer of a show in the 90s. It used actual guns, not lasers. It was drawn on black paper to give it a unique style. It had so many great quality writing and voice acting. But of course, as a kid, I didn't notice or care about any of that. I just saw, hey, that's Batman, and he is so cool. Because of this show, I loved every single thing about Batman. Because of this show, I had lots of Batman toys in my house. Because of this show, my brother and I pretended to be Batman and Robin for hours in our imaginations. Because of this show, I grew to love superheroes. Not because of the movies, because of this show. Sure, all the movies and stuff that helped and added on to it, but I can tell you this, if it wasn't for this show, I would not be here doing animated look back. I wouldn't have a YouTube channel at all. And of course, one of their greatest achievements was their film called Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, which was released to theaters in December of 1993. It was originally planned to just be a straight-to-DVD release, but Warner Brothers was just like, screw it, and decided to give it a December release of the year of 1993. This is the only thing in the DC animated universe that got a crack at the big screen, and since it was rushed out so quickly, it didn't really make any of its money back till the home DVD release. But box office does not decide whether a movie is good or not, so it's time to take a look and ask the questions, how did they do? How did they bring Batman from the small screen to the big screen? Did they accomplish it? Did they make a great movie? Or did they make something that's like, it's fine, but you basically could have watched it on Saturday mornings? Well, follow me into the bad case as we dive into the highs and lows of Batman, Mask of the Phantasm.
Your angel of death awaits.
The film opens with a unique trip through the CGI rendering of Gotham City. Now, true, this does look a little bit strange, especially maybe a little dated at the time, but honestly, I think it actually looks pretty good, especially because it's accompanied by the best Batman score ever! I have always said that I don't think the Danny Elfman score, which the animated series adapted to be their own score, could ever be beaten for the best Batman score. And you know what? I still stand by that. It can't be beaten. However, it can be improved on. And that is what Shirley Walker, who did all the composer stuff for the show, did with this movie. Because it added that epic choir behind it that gives it such an amazingly haunting and dark feel. It just amps up everything that the regular score had to like 1,000, and it just makes it all the more epic, and to this day is my favorite version of the Batman score. I mean, just listen to it! That is just epic. And the CGI City, sure, it's a little dated, but I think it actually works very well because it feels like, even though it's 3D, it feels still like it's the 2D renderings in 3D of the city. You feel like you're giving an actual tour of Gotham City to the audience through this animation. And it works pretty well, especially with the feeling of it giving it like a dark, foreboding sort of feel, which works really well for the Phantasm. But let's ask the question that we always ask here on Animated Look Back. How's the animation? Thumbs up. Look, one thing I love about Batman the Animated Series is its unique design of it. You won't see any other show like it. Even when they moved on to Superman the Animated Series, they didn't do it the same way, which was starting all of their drawings on black paper and fill in the world around the shadow. It makes this show stand out. It makes it a unique entity amongst any other TV show. And not just of the times, ever. I don't think any other show has ever, I mean, you can comment if you know below, but I don't think any other show has ever used this technique. And this film makes an effort to take its animation to extremes. The fight scenes are a lot more dynamic. They include more movement. They also use blood a lot more than they did in the show. Not that they never used it in the show, but here, when they use blood, it's a lot more over the top, let's just say.
Joker.
And it makes it feel more adult. At least that's the feeling you get when you're watching it as a kid. The animation has many standout scenes, which give the best use of this style of animation, probably in the entire show's history. Like, we have the Phantasm scenes, which are animated beautifully and make you feel really uneasy and creeped out by this creepy specter.
Time to pay for your sins, Mr. Bronsky.
The climax has a lot of great moments, like with the giant fan, and then when the world of the future starts exploding. It's just beautiful. It also does great with the emotional scenes, like Bruce begging at the grave of his parents. The way the animation includes the rain and the thunder and the lightning all working together, it's great. They also do small moments right, like take this quick little scene.
What shall I say, sir? I don't know. I just don't know.
That little shake of the hand after he hits the wall feels so real to me. It just makes the character come alive a little bit more. And it's such a small thing, but they make it feel so natural. It makes the character feel more real. So, is the animation perfect? Let me show you this scene.
Councilman, so how goes the bat bashing?
Better than your love life. Really, Bruce, it's almost as if you picked them because you know there's no chance for a serious relationship.
Now, you might be like, Lazy Dude, what are you talking about? This scene is fine. Well, yeah, but there is something in it that bugs me a little bit. And to show you my point, I'm going to recreate this scene in two different ways. One in the way that I think they should have done it, and the other the way that they kind of did it, and you can then see whether my complaint is valid. So, here's the way that I think they should have done it.
Friend in need.
Councilman, so how goes the bat bashing?
Better than your love life. Really, Bruce, it's almost as if you picked them because you know there's no chance for a serious relationship. At least since that one girl. What was her name? Anne? Andy? Andrea? Yes, Andrea Bowman. Now there was a sweet number. How'd you let her get loose?
Thanks for the handkerchief, Arthur. You know where you can stick it.
But this is how they did it.
Andy? Andrea? Yes, Andrea Bowman. Now there was a sweet number. How'd you let her get loose?
Thanks for the handkerchief, Arthur. You know where you can stick it.
And there's a few moments like that where all the background characters feel so stiff and immovable that it makes it feel not as good. You know, even just a slight movement. As it stands, they all look like they've been frozen by Mr. Freeze because they won't move. There's also some jumpy cuts and some continuity errors, like how the Batman logo disappears at times. And I still don't know how this part works with him putting on the cape. Wait, what? How does that work? And like it's met in the middle! Like, watch that scene slow down, it doesn't make any sense. But the most egregious of these mistakes would be the moment where Bruce and Andrea meet for the second time in his flashback, and her dress suddenly just grows sleeves out of flippin' nowhere and then gets rid of them halfway through the scene. However, I will say this one doesn't feel like a mistake. This one feels like the censors got involved. Hello there, it's me, your friendly censor. Hi there, Mr. Censor. So, buddy, I am going to need you to make some changes to one of your scenes. Just a small thing, you'll probably want to be noticed, but we think it's necessary. Well, I was kind of expecting this. I mean, this movie doesn't have a whole lot of blood and violence and guns and, you know, murders and stuff, so I kind of expected it. But we feel like, it's at a decent level for kids. But, if there's some stuff we need to change with that. You want me to change the scene with Bruce and Andrea flirting?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
You see, it's hard to explain, but the scene, it's too sexy.
Excuse me?
Yeah, like he's on top of her and she's slightly resisting. It's just too sexy.
Well, they're clearly flirting with each other. It's not like he just jumps her and starts kissing her. And while she does sound a little bit restrained when he gets on top of her, like she never screams out for help or anything. So she's clearly, just playing along with him. Plus, she threw him on the ground first. Remember?
Nevertheless, it's too sexy. You're gonna have to change it.
You know what? I can understand that. He's imposing over top of her. It's a little bit suggestive. I can understand where we might want to change it. So, but this is going to put us back a wee bit. We're going to have to rewrite the whole scene and everything.
Oh, no. We don't need to do any of that. Just add sleeves.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, just paint her arms the same color as her dress, and it's going to be fine.
Wait a minute. If the act of him sweeping her off her feet and then pinning her to the ground is the problem, which I get, that can be a little suggestive. I mean, but if that's the problem, how does adding sleeves change anything?
Well, there's less skin, so it's not as, provocative. And besides, you won't need to have it for the whole scene. Just have it for when he's on top of her. When he's kissing her, you can take the sleeves right back off.
Wait a minute, so too much skin is a problem when he's standing over her, but when they're actually kissing, it's okay?
Uh-huh.
Okay, fine, I guess. But let me just set the record straight, okay? This movie has blood, it has violence, it has murders. There's a scene where Joker booby traps a corpse to explode, and the corpse has a hideous Joker grin on it, and that gave me nightmares, and I'm the one who drew it. All of that.
Yeah, that's all fine.
But a little wrestle in the grass.
Too sexy!
Got it. In any case, while the animation is flawed in some areas, when it needs to feel big and epic, it does a great job of it. I really also like the fight scenes, because in every fight scene, it also is there to help establish his character. The opening one is the introduction scene to both Batman and the Phantasm, as Batman is trying to take down a counterfeiting ring, and how the Phantasm takes out their first victim. Bruce's first night out fighting crime is a great example of this, because it shows that he has the skill and the ability to fight crime, but it also shows that he needs to instill fear in people in order to make it work, because otherwise no one is going to take him seriously and they'll be able to take him down because he's outnumbered. When you have the fear of God into them, then they're probably going to not be thinking as clearly.
You heard Mr. Kung Fu?
Yeah, I'm shaking.
Say your prayers, sucker.
I had the edge. I could feel it. There was only one thing wrong. They weren't afraid of me. I've got to strike fear in them from the start.
Later in the flashback, when Bruce tries to stop a mugging, he finds that he's not able to go all out when he has somebody worrying over him.
It's got to be one or the other. I can't have it both ways. I can't put myself on the line as long as there's someone waiting for me to come home.
All of these moments have fun action stuff, like Bruce jumping on a motorcycle, knocking a guy off of it, but they also have stuff that informs the character, what he's going through, what he's thinking, how he's, establishing his persona as Batman, and all of that works perfect for the story. I always say this, don't have fight scenes just because you want to have a cool fight scene. If you can use that fight scene to also tell the story as well as build up the stakes, then you're doing a great job. And that's what all of these moments do. They are fun action, of course, but they also further the development of the character and give us context to what he's going through. And the movie isn't just good with that, it does a great job of giving us great character moments, not just through the over-the-top scenes, but also the smaller moments and the background and stuff. There's great symbolism and stuff like the locations, like how in the past we see the world of the future, and it's all bright and hopeful, and shows the bright possible future that Bruce can have. But then we see it again in the present, and it's run down, it's dirty, it's disgusting. It just is the perfect reflection of the dark path that Batman ended up down, and the sadness of the future that was promised, that it didn't come to pass. Now, moving on to the characters, I like that all the characters are so consistent throughout the course of this movie. Even the ones that don't have a lot to do. Like, for example, in the show of Batman the Animated Series, you have the character Harvey Bullock, who in the show has always had a dislike for Batman, but he respects Commissioner Gordon. And even though in this movie he barely has any lines, his character is always consistent. Like when he's motioned to by Councilman Arthur Reeves that some of the police are against Batman.
It's not just my opinion. A lot of people, including the police, I might add, think Batman's as unstable as the crooks he brings in.
He does this thing where he just pulls his coat over his face. It is to say, like, oh yeah, I'll talk to anybody about how much I hate Batman, but I don't like being like a tool used against the commissioner. And then he is also all against Batman and he goes against him, but not until the commissioner wipes his hand clean and says, hey, you want him, you get him. I'm not going to be part of it. And that's when he goes full force out against Batman. However, just on a side note, one problem I kind of have with the film is that throughout most of this movie, the police are like after Batman, trying to get him. The last scene we see of them interacting, the police and Batman, they like corner him in a building and nearly kill him as he barely escapes. And yet at the end of the movie, like the bat signal goes on and Batman is like, yes, I will answer that call, and goes off. But like, aren't the police just going to arrest you when you get there? I mean, like, you don't have any evidence to prove you didn't do it. You don't have the Phantasm. You don't have the Joker. You were at 2 of the crime scenes. I mean, come on. Why did the police just not go back to arresting him? Anyway, let's talk about some of the other characters, like Andrea Bowman. Now, I can't talk about with Andrea Bowman without going into the majority of the story, so if you haven't seen this film yet, why are you watching this review? In any case, go watch it and come back. Spoiler warning, 3, 2, 1. This is my Samus Aran moment. You know how some old-style gamers would say, oh yeah, the first time I played Metroid, I just thought Samus was a guy, and it wasn't until I beat the game and they revealed that it was a woman that I realized, holy crap, I was playing as a woman this whole time. And that is probably one of the most empowering moments for women, as it just dropped a truth bomb right on your lap. That was what this was for me.
You're harder to kill than a cockroach on steroids.
So you figured it out.
Because, like, as a kid, I had already established, like, the pattern that movies did. The guy was always the hero, unless it was a girl movie. The woman was always the love interest, and there was another guy that was the villain. Like, that was always the pattern that everything had always gone. And so, I never even considered a possibility that Andrea was the Phantasm. Like, it's a really good mystery. I like how it's set up, and I think it's done very well. You know, they have a couple of red herrings, a couple of people that it could be, but I wouldn't be, like, if you said, oh, I saw it coming, I wouldn't begrudge you. I wouldn't be like, no, I don't believe it. It's not like The Prestige, you know, it's not the greatest mystery of all time, but it's a good mystery because it gives you just enough breadcrumbs for you to figure it out yourself. But like Batman, you're blinded because you like this character, and that is what it does really well. We don't think that a character that we like as a love interest is going to be the bad guy, because that's not what we want to happen. So even when Joker basically spells it out who the Phantasm is, and we see that her father's dead, I still didn't even clue into it until she took off her mask. Now, to be fair, I was a kid, but still, it's a really good mystery. I really like it. But what's great about it is that everything fits with it once it's revealed. You know, the flirty scene earlier, the show that she already had some fighting skill even back then. Her appearing out of nowhere to help Batman get away from the cops. When she is pinning the Phantasm on her father, she says that she's here to stop him, but you see her face filled with anger, revealing subtly her true intentions. Like, look at this scene. Batman and her, they're talking for the first time since last time he saw her. There's obviously some hostility there. But, you know, Andrea burns him with this sick burn.
You still following your dad's orders?
The way I see it, the only one in this room controlled by his parents is you.
Dang, I mean, Alfred's gonna have to bandage that up, Bruce. But then he leaves the room and she just collapses and cries on the bed. You don't really know why she's doing that exactly, but I think that is perfectly showing us what she's doing, what Batman has been doing this whole movie, mourning the loss of a life that they could have had. They could have been happy together. They could have had a future together, but it wasn't meant to be.
Look what they did to us! What we could have had!
They had to pay!
And I love the Phantasm persona. It's a really scary one. Like, I was terrified of this when I was a kid. And the deaths, they're also really scary as well. I mean, she kills Buzz as he's clawing at an open grave trying to get out while a stone angel falls and crushes him. Like, dang, this is some really dark and horrific stuff. But a dress without sleeves? Too sexy! They also make her really intelligent. I like that she just instantly figures out that Bruce is Batman because Batman makes a mistake and takes a moment to visit his parents' grave. We also see when Batman sneaks into her hotel, she instantly notices the sliding door open and knows what's up. And another thing I like about it is it actually makes it make sense why Bruce is attracted to her. Now, that might seem like a weird sentence to say, but think about Bruce's history. You know, every single woman that he's been attracted to has had, you know, a layer of danger to them. You know, Talia, Catwoman, Wonder Woman. You know, those are women that you would not want to mess with, so to speak, you know? And I think that kind of makes it seem more believable that Bruce would fall for Andrea when she has this in her. Even if at the time she didn't know it, she had this in her. She had this anger. She had this drive. She had this determination just like Bruce did, and that makes it that makes her someone that I think that he would be attracted to. She's of course voiced by Dana Delaney, who you might remember as Lois Lane from Superman the Animated Series, and I really like her performance because she gives a character who is tortured, who has gone through a lot but wasn't like that always, who once had hope for a future, who once had dreams and aspirations of love. And when all that was taken away from her, she decided to take everything away from the men who were responsible.
They took everything, Bruce. My dad, my life, you. I'm not saying it's right or even sane, but it's all I've got left. So either help me or get out of the way.
She is a woman who has been, like Batman, consumed with revenge, but unlike Batman, has let the revenge consume her. Honestly, I only have a couple of complaints about her character. One, she has the power to teleport and to disappear, and we're never really given a reason why she has that. Like, is it tech? Is it some mythic ability? Did she grow with a bunch of monks? Did she hire out a Nightcrawler for a day? You know, we don't really know how that works. And at first I thought, you know, you could say that she's just using the smoke to disappear, you know, it's all smoke and mirrors. But then when you see this clip, yeah, she teleported. We just saw it. All we would have needed is one line like, oh, I trained with, or I developed, or I found this, or my father made, you know, like any of those would have worked. Also, I don't like that Batman has to save her. Like, she confronts the Joker, they have a good fight scene, but then the Joker basically almost kills her with a giant fan, and Batman has to save her. She's not a damsel. She's a villain. Okay, so let's not treat her like a damsel all of a sudden that she took off her mask and now she's a woman and now she needs to be in peril. But beyond that, the Phantasm is a really complex villain with a really unique tie to a point in Batman's life that at that time wasn't really dived into. You know, we usually jump from his parents died, now he's Batman. And we sometimes get a little bit in the middle, but we never really got a point where we saw that there was a possible other future for Batman.
You sure about this?
Sure, I'm sure. What the heck am I doing, Alfred? This is part of the plan. I must be going nuts.
If I may make so bold, Master Bruce, I'd say quite the reverse.
I love that this movie showed us that along the way he had doubts, he had desires, and almost didn't walk the path to become Batman. And it's just like almost heartwarming in the scene where he's begging at his parents' grave when Andrea shows up like an angel that they sent him to be like, hey, it's okay, you can move on. It's really, really great.
Tell me that it's okay.
Maybe they already have. Maybe they sent me.
But I will talk about Batman later in this review. Let's talk about some of the other side characters. We have Councilman Arthur Reeves, who is played by Hart Bochner, and he plays the character that is trying to build a reputation, so he's pinning a bunch of these murders that he thinks are done on Batman and uses Batman as a scapegoat to get higher council appeal.
I'm telling you, friends, it's vigilantism at its deadliest. How many times are we gonna let Batman cross the line?
I'm sorry, Councilman, but you can't blame Batman for what happened to Chucky Saul.
Why not? He's a loose cannon, Commissioner.
And for the most part, I will say that I don't really have a lot to talk about him. He just plays the typical hateable government official who has a connection to the story, but it's just there maybe to kind of fool the audience that maybe he's the Phantasm and, you know, to turn the police on Batman. However, I brought him up because I want to give him credit for one thing. The greatest Joker victim laugh ever.
Good heavens.
First of all, this scene, man, like, I love that the Gotham City Hospital has, like, anti-Joker venom just on hand, probably supplied by Batman, and yeah, they're gonna need it. With the Joker in their town, they're gonna need that. We actually get a scene where, like, one of Mark Hamill's laughs leads into one of his laughs, and tell me if his laugh is not the more creepier one. He also does such a great job at sounding like somebody who is scared beyond belief, but just can't stop laughing because of the Joker venom. However, beyond that, his character isn't all that deep. He's just, you know, the typical type of corrupt council person that you just like to hate. And, you know, sometimes it's good to have a character who you absolutely don't need to have any reference for. You just, oh, that guy's a douche. But let's move on to talking about the clown prince of crime himself, the Joker.
Can't be too careful with all those weirdos around.
You know, like Two-Face, I'm of two minds when it comes to the Joker in this film. From number one, it's Mark Hamill. You know, it's flippin' Mark Hamill. He's absolutely amazing.
And to think our tax money goes to pay those jerks.
You!
That's right, Hearty. Bring in the press, why don't you? What a photo op! The Councilman and his wacky pal.
He is in prime form in this movie. He is creepy, funny, and always in character. Like, there's this moment where Andrea is choking him, and he could either grab a butcher's knife or a big slab of bologna. And which one do you think the Joker's gonna grab? Oh yeah, he's gonna hit you with this big piece of meat. Wait, that's not what I...
Feeling the old electricity tonight?
When he is told that Batman is killing people, he isn't worried about himself. He's just happy that he might have made Batman crazy. He also just has great fight sequences with both Andrea and Batman. Like, I don't know whose idea it was to do like a Godzilla-type fight in a miniature version of Gotham, but give that guy a raise. I mean, like, he's probably not worked for Warner Brothers for a while now, probably been retired, but still, give him a raise, you know, now. Give him like a bonus. A little something.
Joker.
However, on top of that, I will say that I don't like the main climactic battle of this movie is Batman versus Joker. This is Mask of the Phantasm! The Phantasm should be the main conflict. I feel like they just don't want to see more Batman and the Phantasm fighting because they don't want to punch her because she's a girl. Jeez, Joker. Okay, so they didn't want Batman punching women, especially one that he cared for and loved so much. Which, I understand, but like they said in Batman Brave and the Bold,
the hammer of justice is unisex.
Still, I will say, at the very least, I am glad that they made Joker part of the story. He's not just in here for no reason. It is actually a nice reveal when you find out that he was one of the goons that worked for the mob before he was the Joker.
Wrong? Oh, no.
I love this moment where Bruce and Mobster Joker, you know, like give each other dirty looks when they see each other for the first time. I mean, at this point, they didn't even know that they're destined to be each other's arch nemesis. It's just like their hate surpasses time or something. I love that. So I do like that they include him in the story and like they don't just have him completely thrown in. And I do like the ending climax scene with Andrea the Joker and Batman, because at this point, Batman and Joker have been kicking the crap out of each other. Neither one of them has the strength to fight anymore. They're both just laying there on the ground, and Andrea comes up, and she has Bruce on one side and the Joker on another, and she chooses vengeance. She leaves Batman's behind. He lives just by fluke, like he gets sucked under the drain or something. Like, she chooses, instead of saving the man that she loves, she chooses her vengeance. And that is a great scene.
Andrea, you've got to get out of here. The place is wired to explode.
No. One way or another, it ends tonight. Goodbye, my love.
And oh, by the way, I take back when I say, well, like, Hart Markner having a more creepy laugh than Mark Hamill's, because, yeah, that is the best Mark Hamill laugh that he's ever done. It sends chills up my spine every single time. I just love it. It's so good. The Joker gets his last laugh in while the world blows up around them, and probably the most chilling moment in the whole movie. Gosh dang, that is so good. Now, here's the thing. The Joker shows up in more episodes, so we know he doesn't die. We don't really know what happens. Apparently there's an issue of Batman the Animated Series comic book that explains how he got away. I haven't read that yet, so I don't really know how they explain that. But if you just watch this movie on its own, you could look at this as the Joker's last laugh. If you completely ignore all the stuff that happened in Batman Beyond.
You just don't know when to quit, do you?
However, with the fact that he's not dead in the animated series, and the next time we see Andrea is her in a boat, what did she do with the Joker? Is he just like in her carry-on, like in her luggage on the boat somewhere?
I'm sorry. Do you want to be alone?
I am.
Hello? Hello? Hey, Toots! You gotta let me out of here! You can't do this to me. I am the clown prince of crime. Let me out! Let me out! I'm a little claustrophobic. Let me out this instant! I can't breathe! I can't breathe! Harley? Someone? Anyone? Batman!
Anyway, it's still Mark Hamill, and even if I do think it is a little forced that he's in here, he's still the best Joker of all time, so it's really hard to complain.
No way is anybody gonna hurt my pal Sal. That's it. That's what I want to see. A nice big smile.
Now, the other supporting characters, they're great too. We got Sal Valestra, played by Abe Vigoda, who does a great job at playing the scary mobster in the past and the dying one in the present who's just barely clutching on to life.
24 hours. This time tomorrow, we'll have the money, or I'll have your heart in my hand. He'll crucify me!
Remember, kids, this is what's going to happen if you smoke. Her father, Carl Beaumont, is played by Stacy Keach, and, he also voices the Phantasm. And I think that's really good because this works both in the, the storytelling and in the story itself. Because for the storytelling, for us, it gets us subconsciously thinking that he might be the Phantasm because their voices are the same voice. And so even if we're not thinking, hey, that sounds similar, there's something subconscious there drawing us to that. But in the story it worked because you realize that means it makes Andrea made the Phantasm's voice the voice of her father, as if it was his spirit that was haunting these men that cost him his life. That is also really great. I love that.
Buzz Bronski, your angel of death awaits.
Although I will say, you know, Andrea and her father are on the run because they owed these mobsters money and they didn't have access to it.
But you said you'd have the money.
It's not that simple. The money's tied up in investments. Could take weeks to free up.
But just one little thought here. Bruce is rich! Sure, he might not like the idea of giving money to mobsters, especially him being Batman and all, but he would find a way or just do something. I mean, I don't know why they didn't even consider that as an option. He's flipping up, well, maybe not a billionaire, because that didn't really happen until Batman Begins, but still, he has a lot of money. You could be fine. And if it was either give some money to the Mafia or lose the girl you love forever, I don't know, I think you might consider it. Andrea's a very beautiful woman.
You expect every guy you meet to call you up?
The ones that are smart enough to dial a phone.
But other than that, Carl Beaumont's character is handled very well and is a good red herring for the true identity of the Phantasm. Alfred and Commissioner Gordon are played by their respective voice actors from the show, and they both play their roles just as good as they did in the show. Gordon doesn't really do much other than say, "It wasn't him, he didn't do it, I'll tell ya."
But you can't blame Batman for what happened to Chucky Saw. He didn't do it. It's garbage, Mr. Reeves. The Batman does not kill.
Alfred gets plenty of moments where he has his classic Alfred sass.
Such rot, sir. Why, you're the very model of sanity. Oh, by the way, I've pressed your tights and put away your exploding gas balls.
You think you know everything about me, don't you?
I dive at your bottom. I bloody well ought to, sir.
But he also has a nice moment at the end of the movie where he explains to Bruce that he always feared that he'd end up like Andrea, somebody who'd be so consumed by revenge they destroyed everything else. But he is grateful that that's not the man he came up to be, but he couldn't save Andrea because she chose her path and she did not want to be saved.
Vengeance blackens the soul, Bruce. I always feared you would become that which you fought against. You walk the edge of that abyss every night. But you haven't fallen in, and I thank heaven for that. But Andrea fell into that pit years ago. And no one, not even you, could have pulled her back.
I also love the moment where Bruce puts on the mask for the first time and Alfred is legitimately scared by it. And I love it, like, it doesn't just show that why he's scared. Like, is he scared of because he looks frightening? Or is he scared of, he is afraid of what type of person Bruce is becoming and he doesn't know what to feel in that moment. I think that's, it's just when the score swells when he turns around with the Batman mask on for the first time, oh, it gives me chills. And now we come to Batman. Now, I've been saving this character for last. And mostly I do that for animated look back anyway. I save the main character for last because they're the most important one in the movie. So, you know, you want to talk about them last. But this one I've been saving him for last for another reason. The whole reason I am doing this review is because on November 10th, 2022, we lost Kevin Conroy. The best actor, voice actor, anything to ever have portrayed Batman. And I tell you, I was heartbroken when I heard of it. I haven't been this heartbroken over a celebrity dying since Robin Williams. And I tell you, like, I wanted to do a tribute video, just like everybody else. So I sat down, and I turned on the camera, and I had nothing to say. I sat there for like 10 minutes trying to say something, but nothing that came out of my mouth felt right or good enough. And I didn't know what to do. And after a while, I was just like, I just don't even know what to say. And so then I decided I was going to do this review in honor and tribute to him because his Batman is the best Batman. It's undisputed. You cannot, like, you can talk about, oh, Batfleck, so great. No, none of them had felt as good as Kevin Conroy. And the reason that is, it's hard to pin on, but I think the reason that I think it is because he felt the most human and more than human as Batman more than anyone else. He felt the most human because he was vulnerable. He had times where he made mistakes. In this movie, he looks over the obvious answer, which is Andrea and the Phantasm should be the same person, but he doesn't see that because he is blinded because of his love for her. But we also have great moments where he overcomes adversity, like when he is going against the police and they're at him at every corner. Everywhere he turns, he's some more cops are after him and something else is happening. You know, he like outsmarts them at every turn, but he barely gets away. So in some areas, he's more than human. In some areas, he is just like us. You know, Batman nowadays is not relatable anymore. He is like, I thought of that. I was 10,000 moves ahead of you. I knew every single thing. And you know what? Batman is that type of character to an extent, but he should also be able to feel real. When you have that much of intelligence on Batman, then all of a sudden he feels like he's absolutely unrelatable because that's just as much of a superpower as Superman's super strength because he's super intelligent. And I'm not saying Batman shouldn't be intelligent or shouldn't see things coming, but Kevin Conroy's Batman, the way that they wrote him, the way that he voiced him, because Batman doesn't say a whole lot. He's very quiet, and so when he does speak, he needs to come across as dark, intelligent, maybe a little tortured, maybe a little bit scary also, and you need to get that all coming across in this one voice, and I feel like he does it better than anyone else ever did.
There appears to be some chemical residue on the lawn. Could match the traces I found on the glass. Not much, but it's been that kind of day.
And honestly, this movie has some of Conroy's best work. Like, just small moments like this.
I made a vow.
What vow?
A secret one.
Ooh, a man of mystery. Have you kept your vow?
So far.
The little thing where his voice switches a little bit into the Batman voice, just for a second, just to show us where his character's head is at, is so good. And we get to see Bruce reflect on his last chance at a normal life before becoming Batman. And here's the thing, I never even thought Batman would ever want a normal life. You know, I thought, like, as soon as his parents were killed, his mind was set on what he was going to do, and he never wavered or changed from that. And that's what makes this all the more tragic. He did want a normal life of happiness, and he didn't even know that he wanted it. The most powerful scene in this movie is him at his parents' grave, begging them for a different fate.
It doesn't mean I don't care anymore. I don't want to let you down, honest, but it just doesn't hurt so bad anymore. You can understand that, can't you? Look, I can give money to the city, they can hire more cops, let someone else take the risk, but it's different now.
He talks about how the pain of losing them doesn't hurt so bad anymore. And that's because with Andrea, he has begun to heal from the pain of his parents' loss. And he feels almost guilty for that. And as we see him on his knees begging for a different path, we hear the unforgiving clashes of lightning as if an answer to his question. Kevin Conroy hits this scene perfectly with the right emotion. I have never felt this much personal emotion for Batman other than seeing the scenes where as a kid him losing his parents. And we hear this line, which I think is one of the greatest lines for Batman that has ever been written.
I know I made a promise, but I didn't see this coming. I didn't count on being happy. Please, tell me that it's okay.
Bruce gave up his own personal joy and happiness in order to help people. You know, and this is him crying out, hoping that there's another way, that he doesn't have to walk this path that he chose for himself. This came up the first time I watched it with the whole dilemma if he could choose happiness with Andrea or a life of Batman. I thought he was going to choose Batman. I mean, he literally is Batman, right? So that must have been what happened. But then imagine my surprise where in the next flashback, he is proposing to her and he's choosing her over Batman. He chose the life of happiness. He rejected Batman and chose the life of joy. He wanted that. That is something that he wanted. But then at that moment, just as he proposes to her, what happens? The bats come out. It's showing that his fate lies somewhere else. He will be Batman. but it's also just great symbolism that the thing that got in the way of his proposal to her is something that he takes on as a mantle moving forward. And I just love the symbolism of like the cave that Bruce proposes to Andrea at. The Bat Cave is right beneath his feet. There's the life he could have had, but beneath him is the life that he will lead. In the grave scene, Bruce asks the universe for a different fate, but here the universe answers back. There is no fate except for the life of Batman. But talking specifically about Kevin Conroy's performance, he's still the best Batman ever, because you always believe him as Batman. I mean, take the scene where he needs to be intimidating. He is interrogating Arthur Reeves, and if I was in his situation, my pants would be filled with piss.
He thinks you're involved. Why?
I don't know.
That's not the answer I want.
When you need to feel the vulnerability of the character, he does it better than anyone, to the point where it might make you cry.
So much has changed.
You still love each other.
It's true. I love her. Maybe after this is settled, maybe then.
I'm sure they would have wanted you to be happy, sir.
He's never had a problem with his voice. His Batman voice is always pitch perfect, the best low register, the best darkness, the best tortured energy behind it. It is the best Batman.
Stay away. This is not your fight.
This madness ends now.
And the way I look at it, he's not done voicing the character. Not just because he still has that role in the Suicide Squad game coming up, because every time I read a Batman comic book, his voice will be in my head. Think for a moment that this movie came out about a year and a half before Batman Forever. And if you compare these two, like, let's take a look. Which one has the more cartoony stuff? This one has a movie about a Batman who is confronted with a dark past, who has a tortured love that he is never going to actually be able to have, where he has to go through all these terrible, terrible things. He nearly dies multiple times fighting to save the city and to save the ones that he loves. Chris O'Donnell throwing socks around. Mask of the Phantasm is the one that's taking his story way more seriously, and it feels more like a real movie than the other one does. Yeah, like Batman Forever feels like a cartoon. And I'm not just the only one who loves it. Siskel and Ebert saw this movie a year later after it was released and says, hey, how did we miss this? And did a full review on it just to get other people to know about it. This movie understands Batman better than any other movie did at the time, and arguably than most movies do now. Now, if you ask me, hey, Laser Dude, is Mask of the Phantasm the best Batman movie ever? I can honestly say no. I feel like there's been movies that have come out since then that have surpassed it. But if you ask me, was this the best movie at the time? Heck yeah, and I don't think it got topped until possibly Batman Begins. One of these days I plan on doing a ranked series with the Batman movies like I did with the X-Men movies, and honestly I don't know where this one is going to end up, but I do know it's a great movie. The acting is great, the animation is great, its characters are great, the voice acting is great, the animation, while lacking in some areas, excels in other areas. So all in all, I'm going to be giving Batman Mask of the Phantasm an 8 out of 10. This is a great movie. I almost want to bump it up to a 9 out of 10, and I almost might, but the problem is, I think that the film builds up this villain of the Phantasm, and then for it to become a Batman-Joker fight because, you know, she's a girl, basically, I find that a little anticlimactic. Also, some of the animation problems and some of the scenes are just a little rushed. Bumps it down just slightly, but not a whole lot. This is just a great movie. And, you know, one of the strengths about it is the fact that it can stand alone. You know, unlike something like, let's say, the Simpsons movie, you don't have to watch Batman the Animated Series in order to get this movie and to understand it and to really enjoy it. With the Simpsons movie, you have to see at least a few episodes of the show in order to understand who the characters are and what's going on. This movie tells you everything with just perfect storytelling. Every single scene in this movie is made so you know the characters and you understand everything that's going on and you understand where they're coming from, and that's what makes it just a really fantastic movie. So, thanks for watching my animated look back, everybody, and rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. You are always the best. And make sure you join me on my next animated look back, where I'm going to either review, it's up to you, Cars, Happy Feet or Puss in Boots, the first one. So go to the community page and vote on which one you want me to review. And until then, I'll see you in the next animated look back.